gravity well?
Affirmative, sir, but we're gonna need a bus out of here.
Make it happen.
You were sent on a scouting run in the middle of an attack on the ship.
The captain thought Infinity could provide us cover and hold off the attack at the same time.
Sir, we'll never get the wounded back to the ship on foot.
I don't know if it's too soon to ask you for a favor, but we're gonna run out of breathing room here real quick. I don't suppose you're any good at clearing LZs.
On occasion. I'll send out an all clear once the area is secured.
Hello everybody, this is JP3 here, bringing you another entry in our Halo 4 Legendary playthrough. We are on mission number 4, Infinity. Infinity is one of my favorite levels in the Halo 4 campaign. I love the aesthetic, the variety of combat scenarios, even the vehicle sections. It's a real blast to play. It's a longer, lengthier level that does present some challenges, but those are typically my favorite types of levels. I started watching the performance of this last night in preparation of this commentary, and I gotta admit, looking back on it, I don't think this is my best performance in this video series, but I think it will suffice. So if I miss a few shots or make a couple of mistakes, I'll try to point them out. And if there's anything that I do that you feel like I could have done better in terms of strategically at least, then please leave that in the comments section. But let's go ahead and get this thing started, shall we? So as I kind of rush and run through here, we're going to come across a clearing where a couple of Promethean Knights are hanging out by an IFF tag that we need to check out, and they are no trouble, no threat at all. They all phase away, and you won't see those particular Knights ever again. You can, if you're quick enough, run around and assassinate one of them, though. That is certainly possible. It looks like I forgot to activate that IFF tag, but it doesn't really matter. As long as you proceed forth, you should be good. So, best to just take your headshot weapon through here on Legendary difficulty and shoot these dudes in the face. I'm clearly not doing as well with the pistol as I would want to. Hopefully it's clear that I would want to do better than this. But in all reality, I think the biggest issue there was that I forgot the DMR up here. At least when I was shooting the pistol back there and not doing so well with it, I could have pulled this weapon out at any time. And maybe tried my luck with it instead of the pistol. So once I get done waiting for this guy to show up and me, I don't know, miss more shots, I'll come on down here and see what I can do about these guys. Now you'll see a knight hanging out there in the background. If you stay back far enough, he won't spawn his watcher, which is nice, you know. It's a good thing. So I'm going to take my assault rifle, and I think for the only time in this level, use it to strip his shield from afar. Because it's hit scan, it does a good job of this. He can't really, you know, dodge it or phase away from it. And since it's a weapon that I'm not going to be carrying with me, I don't mind wasting its ammunition on that thing. I guess it's not a waste, but I don't mind using the ammunition for that purpose there. Here I pick up a suppressor, which, you know, overall is a disappointing weapon, but up close it can be a bit of a beast, even on Legendary difficulty against crawlers and watchers. Don't know if I kill too many watchers with the weapon, though. They do need to be pretty close, and they tend to kind of run away, fly away, if you will. And I'm just going to use this for a couple seconds here as a headshot weapon, but to be completely honest, it's not really necessary at all that you do that. You're not ever really in true short supply of headshot weapon ammunition in the early parts of this game, unless, or this level rather, unless you are really missing a lot of shots. Now I forget about the sniper crawler right there, which was one of the mistakes that I regrettably made, but and was fortunate there not to get shot. Hopefully you don't make the same mistake and realize that when you come to this part where that crawler, or excuse me, that watcher wants to spawn in more crawlers, just know that you need to look to your right pretty fast before you come into this clearing and take out that watcher. He doesn't always miss like that. I wish I had more opportunity to use the shotgun here, but I simply do not on legendary difficulty at least. So pick up the Promethean Vision here. While it doesn't really serve much of a purpose beyond this point in the campaign, it does a good job here of identifying these crawlers, all of which have binary rifles. At least those two that were in the tree, and that one back there. There's another one back there that has a binary rifle as well, but now we're going to be focusing on these that are willing to hop up here, which do not have binary rifles, thankfully. So just continuing to use that Promethean Vision to identify when the crawlers are going to be jumping up here, and to keep somewhat of an eye on those crawlers that are hanging back there behind that tree, which they tend to do. Now, I am using the binary rifle here simply because I can. There's plenty of ammunition for it down there where I shot those sniper crawlers. And so there's no need to conserve its ammunition. In fact, you don't even necessarily need to bring it with you here because of the amount that will be lying on the ground. Interestingly enough, it appears these two crawlers divided, I don't know, like a cell. That just looked really funny. They were kind of like, I don't know, stacked, but even when they were moving there, and they were moving in unison in a very unique way. But anyway, I was able to take them out before they became an issue. Boy, that looked like the headshot, but since it's not, I'm going to have to finish him off with a light rifle. Yeah, on legendary difficulty, the binary rifle is much less effective against the knights, given that you can only hold 2 rounds in the chamber, and given the long reload, the relative rarity of ammunition, and so forth, it's not nearly as effective on this difficulty level. Unless you could kill knights with them in 2 shots, no matter where you hit them. You can kill them in 2 shots, but you have to hit them once anywhere and then hit them once in the face, which can be hard to do if they get freaked out and start moving around, or if you're just not using the beam rifle a lot, I don't guess. Beam rifle. Binary rifle. So grenades are useless in this game. The only time I would see that they are important would be maybe the sticky grenades, but even they don't really do that good of a job. I don't even think they can hard ping or instantly kill an elite of any sort that appears on legendary difficulty, but I might be wrong about that, and they surely can't kill a knight if you land the stick, and that's all the damage you've done is with that stick. So yeah, grenades are pretty useless in this game. At least on legendary difficulty. But in lower difficulties, it's a whole different story. So, notice we're facing a bunch of crawlers in this little clearing here. We've got a knight that's way back there parked by his watcher. I'm going to try to take out the watcher, but I don't think I get the chance to before this knight decides to make a move. And by the way, this is the first level, I believe, in Halo 4, if you think of it in contiguous order. Or the order in which they appear. It's the first level where the knights will actually do that. They will actually phase toward you in that way. So the best way to deal with that is to step to the side, somewhat perpendicular to where you were standing. The knight will usually beam to that spot, and then you can shoot him. Heck, if you stay close enough, you can even melee him and hope that that might work. Although melee is also very underpowered in this game, as it has been in general since Halo Reach. So it's not crucial here that you make sure and stock up on headshot weapon ammunition, at least not at this point. We will come across a DMR in just a little bit. That'll probably be our best bet, unless we wanted to scavenge more for light rifle ammunition, which I don't think that would have helped either. Or somehow conserved it more by using different weapons. These guys aren't that big of a threat coming through here. It's just regular old crawlers, but you do want to make sure and take them out. You know, at a normal pace. Now, I make a mistake here, and I don't exploit a small glitch that occurs. If you pick up that DMR and then touch the IFF tag, the DMR actually reappears. So if I would just walk over there, you could see it, I would pick it up, and I would have full DMR ammunition coming into the next section. Unfortunately, I forgot about that little exploit and decided to spend my time smacking that wall. Now, this is one of the more challenging skirmishes that we've had thus far in this level. You get essentially ambushed coming right out of this gate here, and as a result, you can lose knights, you can potentially die. These Marines don't stand much of a chance a lot of the time. There's 2 knights and several crawlers. Oftentimes, Marines will run right in front of your reticle and be dematerialized in front of your eyes. I don't know if that's actually an oftentimes type of thing, but it occurred here. For some reason, that wasn't a headshot, and this guy requires more time and energy to kill. The knights in this game are massive damage sponges, so, you know, if you're not already aware of that, then maybe my video will help you recognize that. That shot was just kind of a bad shot there. I took it more so in haste and frustration. But ultimately, we're going to kill this guy. We've kind of whittled down the forces to a nub here, so we should be good. But, of course, now I'm starting to take damage that I can't take. If I was a little more practiced with the binary rifle, that might not have happened. As I mentioned before, huge, giant damage sponges, these knights. Not really sure why that's the case, other than just to make it feel more difficult than it actually is. As I said in the Forerunner video, if all else fails, just go backwards and shoot everything at range with your distance weapons, your precision weapons, your light rifles and DMRs and such. So here we get kind of a close range encounter with some crawlers and a knight up here. I threw that a little too late, and he had already phased away, but since the pulse grenades really aren't that useful, it's not really that frustrating of a waste. I mean, we threw 2 grenades at this guy, a pulse and a frag. We've been shooting him, and we meleeed him. He's still got his shield, so, you know, again, big giant damage sponge. I still prefer the combat in Infinity to Forerunners when you're dealing with these Prometheans, but I mean, they're still Prometheans, man. So the best thing to do here as we near this, the infamous Holdout section in Infinity, is to take out the crawlers. They'll usually be the first ones you see. Then take out the Watcher, or Watchers. I guess that's usually just one. At some point, the Knight will make an appearance, and so then you want to focus on him because he's the biggest threat to you. Keeping your Marines alive is massively optional here. Now notice the mistake I made there. Instead of going to the side, like I said before, somewhat perpendicular to where I was and where he's likely to phase, I went backwards. And he came up and phased at me, not at the spot I was at. So just good, again, a bad strategy, or a bad execution of a strategy that serves as a good example. So as soon as you can, get your hands on this railgun here. It will be instrumental in this Holdout section against these Knights. This guy's hiding behind textures that he can shoot through and I can't see through, but we kill him. We pick up some extra light rifle ammunition, and away we go. Now you can save the binary rifle to take out these Watchers before they spawn these turrets, but to be perfectly honest with you, no idea why that missed. It was right in the circle, but since I can't ADS with this railgun for some ridiculous reason, I couldn't tell for sure how I missed that. But anyway, the turrets really aren't that big of a threat, to be honest with you, and I'd rather have 2 headshot weapons with me to take out those initial crawlers, in the off chance that maybe, just maybe, I can save one of those Marines, whom therefore then may be able to serve as a distraction whenever the Holdout section commences in earnest. I mean, you could argue the turrets are a big threat to them as well, but anyway, it really doesn't matter. It's really not that important. Oftentimes, I'll leave at least one of the Watchers alive in an attempt to try to snipe them. So notice there, the railgun does a really good job of severely damaging those bullet sponges, to the point where once you shoot it, it only takes one headshot or 2 shots, usually total, and they're gone. So we're running low on ammunition, a Halo 4 staple. And I don't know if we're going to be able to find anything that can immediately help us right now, unless we run up and take a couple of risks. But you know what I said earlier? These Knights can be taken out with just 2 shots. So let's go ahead and get rid of the biggest threat right now with our last 2 rounds. Maybe see if we can collect its ammunition. First, we got to get past a bunch of crawlers, though, that are dangerous in packs, particularly if you don't have a great means to damage them, as proven right there. Smarter thing to do there would have been to run directly to where that Knight had been killed. Or, I don't know, spawn that turret like a minute ago. Now, this human turret here is going to be one that we use, at least initially, in this holdout section. The enemies have a hard time damaging you from down below when you're using that turret. They will eventually rush you, however, and I have a strategy for that I think you'll want to see. Because I don't believe it's any secret that turret works really well in this section. So I'm going to look for light rifle ammunition here, or DMR if there's any that have been dropped. I run over some light rifle ammunition right about here, and for whatever reason I was not paying attention well enough, and just, you know, didn't grab exactly what I was looking for. Again, was not excited about this performance after watching it last night, but it's not terrible. It's not that bad. It's just a little off. So let's go ahead and stick Cortana into this Forerunner console and get this party started. So let's get our DMR if we can find it. Nope, that's not. Yep, there we go. And get over to our favorite turret here. Make sure you have full railgun ammunition and as much headshot weapon ammunition as you can get in whichever weapon you're currently holding. I would advise grab the one you have the most ammunition in if you have a choice. Here we're going to try to prioritize the Knights as much as possible and try our best to burst the turret, but that can be hard to do. It's too tempting to just continue to provide damage, consistent damage to these Knights, since their shields would charge so ridiculously fast. So what we've done in not really bursting it well enough is we've got one that's about to overheat here, the turret, and our shields are down. So we need to get the heck out of here. I come all the way over to here just to take a quick break from the shots, but notice there's crawlers over there. So then I run to my other favorite spot in this section, which is right here. This is actually a really great spot to attack from. They don't come up here. Knights don't throw grenades up here, at least not in my experience. They have trouble shooting you up here as well. And of course, with our headshot weapon, we can take out some of the infantry, some of these Knights support, the ones that are probably causing us the most damage when we get into our preferred turret position over to the right of us here, or to the left of us here, rather. So this Knight needs to be gone, so we're just going to go ahead and take him out with a headshot after using the railgun. But notice how we're running lower and lower on DMR ammunition. So we probably need to use the railgun here and leave nothing to chance. For some reason that Knight wasn't paying attention to us before, and it wasn't really paying attention to us afterwards, even though we just hit it with a massive blast from what is a pretty darn strong weapon in Halo 4. So let's leave that turret up there for them to ponder, and we're going to go back to our human turret to finish off the rest of this holdout section here. Now there are several different options for how to play this holdout section. Some are more risky, some require very strict memorization of where these Knight spawns are and when they occur. If you want to take that that approach, that's great. That's why I like this section. That's why I like this level as a whole. I think you have a number of different strategies and approaches depending upon a variety of factors The higher the difficulty level, the more limited you get, but here we are able to finish things off in relative ease using the strategy that I've outlined since we've been here. So you definitely want to leave here with a full amount of railgun and headshot weapon ammunition. These three come at the very end just to, I don't know, make it seem more urgent than it actually is to, you know, go and get Cortana and get out of here. But don't get Cortana yet. Let's go and make sure that we have... There should be a light rifle available to you somewhere. A lot of knights were killed. Certainly it's possible the game may have collected some of these weapons that had dropped. But we are fortunate enough to find light rifle ammunition, and we have as much railgun as they'll let us hold. We're ready to move on to the next section.
Sorry about back there. That hatch's security was more difficult than I expected.
It's all right.
It's not all right. Nothing about it is all right. Knight! Wait, what's he doing?
So that knight is usually scripted to spawn away before you have a chance to damage it, but with the railgun, you can go ahead and take him out pretty fast, which leaves you one less knight in this area. Now, the only problem here that I'm ignoring right now is that as a result of killing that knight, we've got a suiciding grunt, but every time I move, it changes its path just a little bit more. So it's just kind of in this loop with me because, of course, it knows exactly where I'm standing even when it's not looking at me. I take a risky little gambit there and run past where that opening is and fortunately take him out before he can present as a legitimate threat. There is a jackal with a carbine over there, and there's several grunts patrolling in this area. I really don't like... This is my least favorite section in Infinity, and the reason why is because you're essentially on legendary difficulty, even on heroic, relegated to standing back here and shooting everything at range. Pretty much no ifs, ands, or buts. The reason why is because there's, again, a lot of grunts and just kind of milling around in random areas, and it's just very treacherous when they can throw grenades from, you know, some area you haven't checked very well, or can needler you and super combo you, which is a big issue in this campaign, something you really have to be concerned with. And once this Phantom shows up and the Knight battle wagons with the scatter shots show up, which is forthcoming, it's almost impossible to be out and about. There's grunts on both turrets. On the Phantom, they will shred you to bits if you get any closer. And then, of course, there's this giant concussion cannon, which will shoot at you from over there all the way back to here. Again, pretty much relegated to staying right here. We take out one of the grunts just for fun, just to have something to do. There is a jackal with a carbine over there, but for some reason, I don't know if we ever actually kill him, which is kind of strange. I don't want to say he was totally forgotten, but he might have very well been forgotten. So right now we're just taking out as many of those Covenant as we can until these battle wagons show up. Now the way these battle wagons work is much like the one in Forerunner, that the first one you come across, you take out his Watcher and then he's coming after you. Well, these guys don't spawn Watchers. They just come after you. And so that usually happens whenever they notice you, but I'm not really sure why it took these guys so long. But once I shot one of them, if you look to the left there, the one that I didn't shoot actually phases in first. So we have the railgun ready for him. The guy that I actually did shoot phased in very shortly after that, so he looked to be ready to troll us there. But we were on top of it, fortunately, and now he's dead. So all the major threats are gone. The Phantom's gone. The Knight battle wagons are gone. We can't take any weapons into the next section. You will get the loadout that the game wants to give you. Fortunately, it's not really that big of a deal since the next half of the level is all vehicles.
Yes, sir.
Good luck, Chief. Lasky out.
This is Pelican 595. We have the Chief on board and are outbound for Rally Point Alpha Sierra.
Alright, so there's two different options for the before you get in the tank strategy. Because this is actually pretty perilous. There's a Wraith upcoming. You've got Needler Grunts, which aren't a big threat if you're in the tank. But you've got a lot of these Jackals and Grunts holding overcharges. The last thing you want to do is get overcharged right here with a bunch of infantry around that can throw grenades, with a Wraith that's forthcoming right now, who fortunately shoots just enough over us so that we can take it out before it has a chance to kill us. Now I, just like in my video of the Ark and Halo 3, have an obsession with taking out the Phantoms. It's probably best that you not focus on them at all unless you feel like they're a threat to you. I do it for fun, but you certainly don't have to. So just to let you know, I didn't know that this had occurred until last night. At some point, I get into a position of running over a Marine or a Spartan. I believe it's a Spartan, though. I love how the wreckage makes this easier to do. They just go to the same spot, and all I've got to do is keep my reticle there. But yeah, that's right. So there he is. So yeah, so we get a Spartan trapped in our wake, and if you look at the little yellow dot on the minimap, if you back it up a couple of seconds if you weren't watching it, he was kind of beside us, but then he somehow spawned under us, and so if you listen closely, he's constantly telling us to stop hurting him in, you know, the dull, dry way that they do in this game, and eventually at some point he dies, and yeah, there he goes, he's dead. So, you know, I would have liked to have had him on the tank, but apparently Spartan 4s in Halo 4 were ridiculously stupid and didn't know how to get out of such a jam. I mean, heck, I didn't even know it was there. I didn't kill him on purpose. So once you're in the tank, your biggest threat, other than that infantry back there at the early portion, is going to be Wraiths, because they can kill you in 2 shots, or these Grunts that are in these towers holding fuel rods. It's best to memorize where they're coming from, or where those towers are going to be, rather. One of the more frustrating elements in Legendary difficulty, at least, although I think this can happen in Heroic as well, is you can actually shoot down one of those towers and somehow not kill the Grunt that's in it. That, combined with your gunner's tendency to really overkill on that shooting dead bodies thing, makes this a little more confusing than it has to be. You know, I'd like to think that if I took down a tower that had a Grunt in it, the Grunt's gonna die. And even though I know it's been a Halo staple since the very beginning, I'd really like to think that, you know what, if my gunner's shooting at something, it's something that's alive and is going to be a threat. Obviously, those two things aren't guaranteed. So, I don't know, be careful. Try not to get too annoyed whenever your gunner continues to shoot at a dead body and you're looking for a threat and it's not there. So this is the other Phantom, and unfortunately I'm not able to take it out. I'm not really sure why. I felt like I hit it enough times, but I think you have to hit these Phantoms 5 times though, and I guess odds are I probably did screw that up somehow. I thought I hit that Wraith twice, and they usually go down in 2 shots, even on Legendary, so not really sure. Maybe the mortar loses power over distance. I'm not really sure how that works. 4. That's 4 shots. 5 shots right there. That usually takes out a Phantom, so I don't know what was going on there. And since there is no campaign theater for Halo 4, I can't figure it out. I think that my obsession with taking out these Phantoms has reached its all-time high right in the middle of this commentary, so with that level of awareness, I think I'm going to just shut up about it. I will commend Halo 4. I don't know, I'm not saying everybody should share this opinion, but I really do like the Halo 4 tank. I'd argue it's probably my favorite out of all of the tanks. I think that since the mortar is back to not being hit scan like it wasn't, I believe, in Halo 2, and with its kind of arc, I feel like there's enough of a skill gap that makes it something that you need to learn to use. It's not just a, you know, simply point and shoot. I think its speed is, you know, it's not bad once you get it going, and I love the controls. Love the controls. Very, very easy to maneuver this thing around relative to the Halo Reach tank, which went backwards in its controls. The turret's direction should have no bearing on the direction of the treads, but in Reach it does, just like in Combat Evolved, but not quite as bad as in Combat Evolved. And why in Halo 5 they went back to, again, that Reach Combat Evolved style is beyond me. But this one was very enjoyable to use, much like the Halo 2 tank and the Halo 3 tank. Alright, so we're reaching the finale of this run, and this is one of the more risky parts, actually. There is a Wraith over there. And sometimes that Wraith does exactly what you'll see here, and it never really catches wind of you or is too occupied and leaves you alone. Other times, it sends a magic frickin' mortar over that rock right to where your position is. So that's why I am facing the direction I was. That way I could strafe back and forth with the tank, just in case it sent a magic mortar over. And when I say magic mortar, I mean it can't see you at all, yet somehow finds your exact position, or even will fire a leading shot at you, and which is just gross, disgusting, and terrible and stupid. But has been around since Halo 3. Alright, so when you get onto this elevator here, you want to keep the tank at this exact angle and then point your turret to the left. Do not angle the tank in a forward fashion, because you want to be able to strafe back and forth, since you'll be facing 2 hunters with fuel rods naturally built into their armor and 2 grunts with fuel rods. The grunts can be tricky to find, and the hunters, well, you know, they're not easy to kill even with this mortar. Yeah, the fuel rod grunts are really trolly, so it's best just to stay here, continue to kind of go back and forth, and just know that you are not finished with killing the enemies until Andrew Del Rio comes over the comm. And almost always, your last enemy is going to be, last enemies are going to be the fuel rod grunts. Ugh, my God. So stupid.
This is Captain Del Rio. Lasky just radioed. You picked a hell of a time to rejoin us.
Sir, what's our status?
That satellite took down the ship's defenses and is extracting data from the ship's mainframes as we speak.
Can we break the connection?
Main point of contact's on the ship's upper hull. The fastest route is through the maintenance causeway. There's a Mantis docked inside the door. Take it. You'll need the extra firepower.
Alright, so now we're coming up on the Manta section. I just want to point out, before I forget it, that do you guys think that the guy who voices Thomas Lasky, when he's speaking to you over comms, has to be a different guy than the one who is voicing him when he speaks in the cutscenes? Notice how he sounds like a child in the when he's over comm, but in the cutscene he sounds like, I don't know, a respectable young man captain dude. I don't know, I don't know. My thoughts, just some of my random thoughts here. All right, so now we're in the Mantis, which is a badass vehicle. It has fairly weak shields, especially against plasma, but has really, really strong armor, even on legendary difficulty. Now that doesn't mean you can go willy-nilly with it when you're without shields, but it does mean that you can take quite a bit more punishment than you would imagine, especially given that there's no damage being done to you, it's all being done to the vehicle itself. Now for some ridiculous reason, they decided to have these shields in the Mantis recharge at a massively slow rate. And the delay on the recharging in and of itself is also very, very long. So that's really your only major concern. But again, the armor is strong enough to sustain a lot of damage. So your biggest fears are fuel rod grunts. Notice we dealt with one up there on that bridge. I just destroyed the bridge. And we dealt with one early on as we were coming out with the Mantis. The Knights aren't really that big of a threat at all. The turrets, of course, can be, but they can be taken out with literally one missile. The Watchers there, I mean, of course, they're a threat because they will respawn the Knights. The Knights, which really aren't that big of a threat again in the first place. I'm not really sure why it is, but they rarely, if ever, throw grenades at you. That may be because we're not getting close enough to them, but either way, it just, again, the Jackals are much scarier because they will actually overcharge you. And that not only leaves you vulnerable to damage, but it also leaves you frozen for a bit. So if you want to do, do yourself a favor in these kind of sections, if you're having any trouble at all, just try to remember where those turrets spawn. They're the ones that will, as you can see there, took our shield down by about 25-30% there. They're most likely to, slow your roll, other than an overcharge from a Jackal. But notice there's a little bit of an effective range on them too, and so just as long as you destroy it before you get within its range, you should be pretty good. Now we do hit a little bit of a slow point in a little bit because of some Jackals that really, just get a little bit too crafty. Dodging rockets, using their shields to block a lot of the incoming machine gun fire. One, we got an overcharge there, so as they continue to kind of keep our slowly recharging shields from ever recharging in the first place, we have to stay safe. We don't get to kind of run up and really make life a living hell. And there's a lot of, detritus lying around right now, and, they're dodging rockets. I think I already mentioned that. Again, not really that big of a threat that you're going to die. It just, slows things down a little bit here for me. But not too badly. Nothing we can't handle. So as you enter this corridor, you're going to be dealing with more fuel rod grunts. They don't, there's one right there. It's not like they're, they don't hide, I don't guess. I guess one could be hidden around a corner. Just watch your six there. They can't kill you in one shot or anything. I think if they hit you with one shot, it totally takes away your shields. Maybe. I think it takes your shields away, and then I think I don't know how many shots it would take with, a decently armored Mantis. Maybe 2, 3 total before it can finally totally destroy you. So, just make sure that if your shields are down, that you're really careful going through here. And if one of them hits you and knocks your shields down, then just, kill it immediately and, get some cover somewhere. This part here upcoming is one that I always, I just have a little silent chuckle to myself about. I used to kind of wonder what it would be like if 343 just trolled us, and like when you opened this door, all those grunts had fuel rods and they all just fired them simultaneously. Obviously they set it up to be, I don't know, they put them in there, I don't know, just as something to do, as opposed to just getting onto a blank elevator. So it's kind of a fun part, I guess, because there's no way they're gonna pose a threat there. But it just, I just thought that would be kind of funny. I'm glad they didn't do that. Or if they were just all like ready, cocked back, ready to throw plasma grenades. Oh man, it'd be one hell of a troll.
We're on it, Commander. Cortana out.
Yeah, I always forget which direction to face. I always forget it's one where do you turn to the opposite direction whenever you get at the top of the elevator, or do you stay in the... yeah. Alright, so now we're on the hull of the ship. And now that we're on the hull, we're going to focus on taking out these jammers. The sooner we take these out, the sooner that the hull defenses come online, which will help us tremendously in taking out phantoms and killing enemies in general. Now, I'm being careful back here, and the reason why I'm doing that is because this can be a somewhat more challenging part on Legendary difficulty. The reason why is because of these elites and their ridiculous storm rifles. Obviously being overcharged by Jackals or Grunts is a big concern as well, and then eventually we'll be dealing with turrets, Grunts on turrets and these Phantoms, their concussion turrets and all that stuff. But the storm rifle guys come up and just de-shield you massively fast. Again, that doesn't mean you have to freak out, but it is probably best to go back into that room and take cover whenever that occurs. Now notice what we've got here. We've taken out a lot of the infantry that were a threat. Right now I'm laying down suppressive fire so I can get over here and take out this final jammer. And once you take that jammer out, again, the defenses start to come online, and now it's essentially a holdout section for a little bit where we'll be dealing with Banshees and Phantoms, and the Phantoms dropping off infantry that is generally going to be your elite Jackal Grunt squads. That Banshee clearly took some damage from some of the defenses there, so you can see there that they have quite a bit of value. So now we're getting hammered by another Storm Rifle, which is really annoying. Not really that big of a threat to your armor. The biggest threat is just losing your shield and then having this kind of crap happen. So as you can see here, we're going to be suppressed and pushed backwards, but we are in a good position to be able to take cover until our shields start to recharge. There's a lot of grunts just hanging out over that ridge. I'm not really sure why they're not charging up here, other than that they're cowards and trying to troll me. So we got a fuel rod dude there. We're just going to dodge his rods and, well, so I guess the question's answered. It does take out your shield fully when they hit you with it, but anyway. So we'll just get it back to recharging, and now we're going to start becoming a little bit more of a menace here. So now that a lot of this infantry is starting to go down, we're going to start focusing on these Phantoms with the assistance of the hull defenses. Because as you know, I like taking out Phantoms. The hull defenses might even sometimes target infantry, which can make for some interesting situations. Like, for example, the hull defenses right there pointing right at us. It's kind of a scary sight. There we go, there we go. We've got the recharge rate and recharge delay just crawling forward right now, which does in fact hamper the enjoyment you can have with this level. This is my least favorite part of the entire level, of this playthrough, was right there when I shot all 5 of those rockets at that pile of grunts and to not get one kill. That just seems, I call shenanigans on that, man. So as soon as we get done with this little bit more of infantry, Cortana will say something to the effect of that's how it's done, and we'll be able to get out and activate the Mac cannon. One thing I'm not 100% sure of, though, is that when she says that, which is right there, if that means all the enemies are dead, or does that mean that there's just like a couple more? Did we kill the elites? And that's why I'm not really sure. Because I want to say that I've gotten out here before and pressed this button and had to fend off an attack. So keep the Mantis nearby and keep vigilant. But ultimately, don't let it stop you from participating in this this little set piece here. I don't know, unless you don't like to have fun and don't care. Get out of here, dude. Look at that cruiser back there. Took a little bit of damage. Alright guys, well that is the end of our performance here. My performance of Infinity. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, complaints, compliments, alternate strategies, whatever it might be, please leave it in the comments section. If you haven't already, please subscribe and definitely hit that notifications bell. That way you'll know whenever I've put up a new video or when I'm streaming to YouTube. As for now, however, this is JP3 signing out. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you very, 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 very much for watching. Goodbye.